To introduce our commencement speaker is Maurice J.T. Billaster, faculty from the College of Communication, Art and Design.
Leni Robredo was the 14th Vice President of the Philippines, serving from 2016 to 2022. During her term, she reinvented the Vice President's office into an advocacy-centered organization through a flagship poverty alleviation program that thrived on private-public partnerships. Angat Buhay, which means uplifting lives, brought much-needed interventions on education, health, nutrition and food security, rural development, women empowerment, and housing and resettlement. The kind of leadership she has long believed in, ethical, empowering, efficient, and inclusive, was further highlighted during the height of the pandemic when she and her office stood at the forefront of COVID response operations. Robredo's work in politics was heavily inspired by her years as a human rights lawyer. After serving in government, she set up the non-profit Angat Pinas Incorporated, which now carries the Angat Buhay program. It strives to empower volunteers across the country in the collective mission to uplift Filipino lives. Robredo has also been sharing her insights and experiences with academic institutions, think tanks, and different organizations in the Philippines and overseas. For fall term 2022, she joined the Harvard community as one of its Kennedy School's house leaders, where she provided perspective, particularly on the impact of disinformation and influence operations in the Philippines. This August 19, 2023, the University of the Philippines Alumni Association will be giving her the Most Distinguished Alumna Award in the awarding ceremonies of the 2023 UPAA Alumni Awardees at ang Bahay ng Alumni UP Diliman, Quezon City. The UPAA awardees are outstanding individuals recognized for their leadership, achievements, service, and contributions to create positive change in the country and in the world. Everyone, it is my honor and privilege to welcome this year's commencement speaker, former Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines, Honorable Maria Leonor Leni Herona Robredo.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Attorney Angelo Jimenez, President of the UP System. Attorney Leo Malagar, Chancellor of UP Cebu. Members of the UP Board of Regents, Vice Presidents of the UP System, officials from the different UP campuses, distinguished guests, faculty, staff, families, and friends, and most especially our dear graduates, maayong hapon. By now, you must have been told, perhaps countless times, about how unique, how resourceful, how amazingly resilient you all are. You, after all, are a batch that had to go through the pandemic, a phenomenon that spanned the entire globe, causing massive economic downturn and costing countless lives. Within the past years, you were forced into an almost overnight transition in terms of the way you learn, the way you interact with each other, the very way you live in the world. Many of you have had to struggle with adjustments. Some may have encountered personal tragedies. All of you today powered through all the uncertainty and anxiety. You pulled yourselves together and grit your teeth and did what needed to be done. And this indeed is something that you should be very proud of. You stand here today as the batch that triumphed over a kind of adversity that few in living memory had to struggle with. This is a truth you already know, a truth that can never be taken away from you. I speak before you today both to reaffirm and to broaden this truth, to attempt to distill its lessons and hopefully connect it to other insights that might offer you a guide on how to approach the world that awaits. Over the years, I have spoken before many audiences, and there is a word that I have repeated as a sort of a mantra, a theme, my own personal anchorage in my undertakings from my early days as a human rights lawyer to my stint in public service and until now, as I participate in the development sector as a private citizen. That word is solidarity. Taken within the context of your graduation, solidarity could mean, very simply, that none of us ever gets to where we want to be on our own. This is a truth we all know in your bones, but can be obscured by the weight of our personal struggles, our individual hard work, by all of the things that we did on our own. But it bears remembering that even in these times when it seemed that we were alone, so many invisible hands were at work to empower us, to prop us up, to try to make our burdens lighter. Parents who sacrifice their well-being for your own. Support systems and friends who sometimes set aside their own problems to help deal with yours. Teachers who, despite very tough exams and many projects and papers, earnestly wanted you to succeed. Once we begin to understand this, solidarity takes on another, perhaps deeper meaning. We realize that just as we are never the sole and final cause of our achievements, so should we never be its endpoint. It is, of course, easy to point out the countless individuals throughout history who pursued personal enrichment and little else, who accumulated and became addicted to wealth and power, and spent their entire lives holding on to it, or using it to evade accountability from whatever unscrupulous things they had to do to acquire it in the first place. We all know we have more than our fair share of these kinds of people. At the same time, there is nothing wrong with dreaming for a better life for oneself and using the privilege of one's education to bring these dreams to reality. But if history has taught us anything, it is that such a mindset of self-absorption, of never having enough, that is at the root of many of humanity's greatest challenges. Because at the end of it all, taking and taking from the world, unmindful that in taking more than we need, we deprive others. And being so ignorant of our interconnectedness that we run roughshod over the rights and dignities of others. In taking the individual glory and self-enrichment to a destructive extreme, we calcify the structures that over time will only lead to everyone's doom. The opposite of solidarity is selfishness. And it is selfishness that is at the root of authoritarians waging war on their country's poor, on dissent, on the truth. It is selfishness that orders tanks to rumble across borders or ships to slash across entire seas and claim them as their own. It is at the root of corporations digging countless holes in the ground and extracting resources and burning them until the entire planet runs a fever. Conversely, solidarity allows us to build a vision of a collective future, one where everyone is empowered and lends their strength so that even the toughest challenges can be addressed. And this light then, it ceases to be an abstraction. We begin to understand solidarity as the only viable strategy for human survival. This is not the first time I have spoken about solidarity as an animating philosophy. But it is perhaps only fitting that I speak of it at length today in front of graduates of the UP system, because it is through my own UP education that I began to form and refine my own understanding of solidarity as the only way to rise above our challenges. When even our own professors implored us during our senior year in college to take to the streets in 1986, when I saw peers even younger than I was throwing themselves at picket lines, raising their voices with millions to assert their right to a free future, I began to see firsthand how structural ills can only be healed through collective action, and how collective action is only possible if we see others with equal dignity and therefore equal agency. My dear graduates of class 2023, this, I hope, is the most important thing you carry forward from your UP education. When the scholar ng bayan chants, "Serve the people," when she raises her fist to the heavens and cries for justice and the end to oppression, it is ultimately an expression of our character as a university. It is not activism for activism's sake, or an empty expression of indignation founded on some abstract sense that things are not right and change should be pursued. It is the spirit of solidarity moving within us. Your years in UP grants you knowledge in your respective fields, yes. It grants you technical skills that are at par with the best in the world. But it also grants you vision. It grants you the moral clarity to see the world as a web of struggles with often structural roots. It allows us to look beyond ourselves, to ask bigger questions, to seek ways forward, not only for ourselves, but with our people. You will succeed in your own careers. After what you have been through, it is almost a given that if you apply yourselves to any pursuit with the same rigor and courage, with the same puso at utak as you did this past years, there is nothing you cannot achieve. You will look back to these years with fondness and perhaps a little disbelief. Nakahinumdum ka adtong pandemic? Nakaya nato to? Nakaya nimo. You will remember the struggles, the triumphs, and more importantly, the how. Not alone, but through the support and solidarity of others. And I hope with all my heart that in remembering, you will find not only the strength to achieve more for yourself, but to also move in solidarity with others, so that we may rise to our collective challenges as a nation. Congratulations, class of 2023. We are all very proud of you. UP Fight, mabuhay kayong lahat.
To present a token of appreciation to our commencement speaker, let us call on UP President Angelo Jimenez, UP Cebu Chancellor Leo Malagar, to be assisted by the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, Patricia Nazareno.